And we are back, and we just finished watching 2023's American Symphony, currently streaming on Netflix. This is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 44 minutes. This is the story of, or a documentary about musician Jon Batiste, who is coming off some nominations for the Grammys and also getting his American Symphony put together, while at the same time dealing with his wife Suleika's ongoing cancer treatments. This is directed by Matthew Heineman and stars Jon Batiste as himself and I guess everybody as themselves, since this is a documentary. What did you think of the piece?
This was not my favorite documentary. I mean, I like...
It was better than the Gospel According to Andre.
Oh, that was a turd. I mean, I like Jon Batiste. I don't know. It felt more like just sort of I don't know, like a collection of home movies more so than a documentary. Yeah, it focuses on, I guess, just a very chaotic part of his life, that there is a lot going on simultaneously in his life, and credit to the guy. I mean, he bears it all.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would have just rolled over and died at that point. I mean, he is really stretched from one point to another, whether it's this professional high where he's being nominated for all these awards and facing recognition, but also being lambasted, right? There's that scene where he's talking about, like, why do you got to be mad? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people in the classical world were upset that he got nominated for this category when he's not a classical or deemed a classical musician, but there's a classical composition on the album, so that's why he got the nomination. Yeah. And it's like, who cares? Just let that guy live.
I mean, he's
be happy for him.
And and he's bringing new eyes to your genre of music.
Of music, exactly.
I mean, how many variations of Beethoven's Fifth are you going to release?
Exactly.
This is a new young artist who is, he's not like doing like, oh, I'm going for the cash grab. What type of music should we go for? Classical.
Yeah, because that's what all the kids like to do.
Okay, that'll get me the Pepsi endorsement. A nice,
exactly.
A nice, overture.
Yes.
This is good. This is a good thing. If he's inspired, maybe he can inspire others, and maybe classical music makes a resurgence. K-Rock will be switching to all classical. But yeah, there was that, and also even after he wins, what was it, Album of the Year? You hear like all the radio hosts and commentators, and they're just like, how did this guy win? And oh, he's like living in this weird. It's like he never like left the Pharrell happy zone or something like that. Yeah. And it's just like, man,
shut up.
Go to hell, you fucking bitches.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, and the best was no disrespect, but disrespect. It was just shut your damn hole. Yeah. Seriously.
This is a man who's made an imprint in society, picked himself up, made this great musical experience, and just parlayed that into even bigger success. He started that kind of avant-garde group. He goes on to become the musical host or the music director for Colbert's Late Show. So now he's become even bigger, right? And
more name recognition.
But this is somebody, this wasn't handed to him. He worked for this. Everything he has, he's earned. So it's
absolutely,
just be happy for the guy. Seriously.
And then on top of that, the fact that he's just dealing with
the worst
his wife
thing.
Suffering from leukemia.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'd heard about it, and like I was curious, and it's funny. So this came out in November of last year. It's been on my list of things to watch, but my coworker Christina D, shout out to Christina D, was like, oh, we just watched it this weekend, you should watch it. And of course, it was on the list and I wanted to get it in. We are pairing this with The Princess Bride because they are both, in essence, I mean, this is a documentary about Jon Batiste and his life, and this, like you said, this portion of his existence in 2022. However, this is also a love story at its core. This is the love of a man and a woman, and how it's impacted by all this stuff around them, whether it's the ups and downs of fame, whether it's the kind of inherent depression that artists have. It feels like, you know, there's these scenes where he's talking to Jane, the therapist, and he's giving voice to, I think, a lot of feelings that a lot of creatives have. And
well, I mean, also dealing with, you know,
and then just dealing with his wife's leukemia.
That with the therapist,
and then also not only just dealing with it, but being away from her because of his obligations, where I'm sure he just wanted to be with his wife.
Yeah, that was another thing that shows like the love between the two, because they're both very supportive of each other.
Yeah.
Even at her sickest, she's still his biggest cheerleader. That's lovely. And it also shows just how the guy genuinely loves music.
Yes.
Like it really is like, oh, it's part of my soul. This really shows it. You can wallow in misery,
your pain and
you
suffering.
Can wallow in your suffering, and you'll look for things. You'll look for things that give you strength, and this gives him strength. This is like a spiritual connection for him. This is communing with God, basically.
Yeah.
Through song and through the creation of music, and that is a amazing blessing to be able to do that, to find comfort in that, to share that with an audience, to have that connection with that to the audience where they also appreciate it and love it. And that's amazing. I that would be something I would wish for everybody to have and find in their lives.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that really made an impression on me in this film, and obviously there's points where he's super down, but in the outside world, he is always smiling. He is always like this positive force in the world. And it's so interesting because in his heart, he's hurting. He's hurting because of his wife's situation, and
he's not going to drag you down
with him. Right. No. He is going to be joyful. Like that scene where he gets album of the year and his wife's like, oh, he's got this. Before it's even announced, she's like, he's got this. Right. You were saying like her being his biggest cheerleader. But here's a man that for all intents and purposes could just roll over and play dead. Yeah, I mean, people have done that. I mean, with less suffering in their life.
It's really like a blessing that he found his passion and
his purpose.
And it's such a deep and profound connection that it's his strength. Yeah. And then on top of that, he also has his wife who supports him and his circle of friends, but mainly his wife and his music. And there's no conflict there. It's just an absolute foundation of love that this guy has. And that is what's carrying him through which for many people would be the most horrible, hardest, crushing experience in their life. Right. So, I mean, that's... good for him. I'm glad he found that.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I mean, I not to critique, but I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of his backstory as a young person, how he came to be. I mean, you get it very...
That's where I was. That's where I was kind of going with the whole. It really didn't feel like much of a documentary because it's this is a documentary about Jon Batiste, but it's not really. It's just a small portion of his life, mainly
this section in time,
the section from the past couple of years.
Yeah.
You don't really get much about his history. Not really many stories or anything about how he met his wife or his family.
I mean, they talked about how he met his wife, like when they did the marriage ceremony. I guess brief. They met each other. At camp. It would have been nice to have more information about like how they met, how they dated.
Nobody's really talking about him or giving their impressions of him. Yeah, it's just him, really. Right. It's almost like a diary.
a video diary. Yeah,
like a video diary.
That makes sense.
More so that than a documentary. When I think documentary, I'm thinking, oh, in the early years,
yes,
his school teacher told him he'd amount to nothing,
but he showed her. Yes. No, you're right. So I think because this is based on a non-fictional sort of circumstance or story, I think that's why. And I think this is nominated for an Oscar in that category. So it'll be interesting to see like how this does and stuff. But this was, to me, it was lovely. I won't lie, I teared up at the end. Towards the end. I mean, the Grammy performance was sensational. And the intercut of his wife watching it at home really made my heart heavy, because I'm sure she would have loved to have been with him in that moment, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, because of health reasons, she couldn't. And then later on, when he's getting ready to do that whole American Symphony at Carnegie Hall, and she's there in person, which is just so fantastic and lovely. But at the same time, then he has another bump in the road, which is the power goes out on the stage, which is like incredible. It's like, seriously, God, are you going to do this now? Like, what are we doing here?
But I mean, the dude is such a professional. He just flowed into something.
Yeah.
And I don't think the audience even noticed.
No.
It was just sort of a moment of silence.
Yeah, and then he just started playing.
He just rolled into that. I don't know if it was prepared or improvised or what. But
I think it was improvised, but I think it was that song he did previously in like when she's doing, I guess, her first batch of rounds of chemo, I guess, and he's touring. And this is before the Grammy performance, and he's going from town to town to town. And like at one point, he said the song is for Suleika, and there's like a very long pause between when he says that and when he actually starts playing, to the point where I'm like, is he okay? Like, I was going to turn to you at one point, but I was so riveted by like him on the screen. And I want to say it was like more than a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was like weird, because I was like, what just happened?
Like I said, to me, it for him, this connection to music is extremely powerful, extremely intimate to him. When you play music, you're supposed to feel it.
Yeah, sure.
You're definitely supposed to feel it. I remember I had to take piano lessons as a kid. I did not want to. This was forced upon me. I despised it with every part of my being. You
hated the piano for years and years and years.
It made me hate music until I went to college.
Yeah.
And I just remember my teacher saying he plays like a machine. And yeah, because I felt nothing. So it wouldn't be me on the stage taking a minute to emotionally connect my feelings to the creation of music. Me, it would just be like, all right,
robotically playing.
Look at the sheet music, play the song like a machine.
Yeah.
No feeling whatsoever. And you could see it in other artists, because they're like rocking their head back, they're biting their lip, they're swaying. He's doing that too. Yeah, it's definitely something that if it's in you, it's in you. If you love it, it will show through your body and manifest in the output.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what that was. That was him just pulling on all the emotions, the feelings he has for his wife, the creation, the act of making that music, and just letting it flow through his fingers.
Yeah. Agreed. Any other thoughts? I mean, I agree with you. I think it doesn't really feel like a documentary, because you feel like, I think with a documentary, you want more of a history and an in-depth look at the subject matter. But
yeah, I mean, I did learn about.
This just focuses on a certain time in his life.
Yeah, I did learn about him, but I learned about that time of his life. I didn't really
learn about him. Yeah. Fair enough. And I agree with you. I think it would have been nice to get a little bit extra moments, but I think that for what this is, it's still a lovely piece. I think it's still worthwhile to watch, and it's a riveting story. It's interesting how the human spirit perseveres in times of so much anxiety. He talks about that. He talks about having this anxiety, whether it's with the therapist or in an interview about representing the culture and stuff. So he's got a full plate. And in spite of that, he powers through and he smiles and he takes that part of his life and I guess separates it from the more music / professional part, where he is sort of like this persona, right? He's this joyful, jolly person that is just positivity and these wonderful messages. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think obviously he's his most authentic self with Suleika. So at the end, when you see the two of them kind of quietly walking together and enjoying each other's company, like that's lovely after the big performance at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
So yes, to have found your purpose in life is amazing, but then to also find that person that fills you, that compliments you, that you can share this journey with is also powerful. So I would give this movie an 8.
I guess I'd give it a 7.
Okay, fair enough.
It was good, but like I said, it wasn't really a documentary.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's still a worthwhile. I think if you want to learn more about Jon Batiste, you can watch this and take away something from it. I think if you're studying music, I think you should also watch this because it shows you what you can accomplish if you stick with it and keep on top of your craft. I think that if you are looking to find stories about interracial couples or even being Black from the South and coming into your own, I think this is also an excellent piece for that. If you're a film student, obviously always watch everything. This is a really good look into, I guess, storytelling and telling a story from one point to another. Again, this focuses on a certain part of Jon Batiste's life. So just how the story structure progresses, how you are introduced to these characters, how their journey goes from A to B, and the things that happen in between. I think as a film student, you should definitely pay attention to all those things. If you love Jon Batiste, you should watch this. If you are a fan of The Late Show, you should watch this. Absolutely. If you have a Netflix subscription, watch this. You're paying for it monthly, so get on that. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And I think the Oscar is also nominated it for something. I'm not going to look. I'm being too lazy right now. But yeah, definitely check it out. I think it's great. I think it's definitely worthwhile. Again, American Symphony from 2023, rated PG-13 for slight cussing. I think they said that strong language at the beginning. This clocks in at an hour and 44 minutes. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And that's it from us. And we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.